Welcome to the Weird and Witchy Sh podcast. I'm Kristy, your basic witch guide, here to make the mystical a little bit more approachable. In today's astrology lesson, we are talking all things Aquarius and how that manifests as your sun, moon and rising sign. If you are a regular here on the podcast, you might have noticed that I have been AWOL for quite a few weeks. I have just had the busiest start to the year. I had been really good at getting these Astrology 101 episodes in their proper season. Now we're going to be getting this Aquarius one out. I think we'll be at the very end of Pisces season, possibly the beginning of Aries season. But then I promise things are going to be a lot more consistent from here on out. I was doing some very lovely things. I was getting married, so that was really nice. Also experiencing some very cursed and awful things as well. You know, what is it they say, like, God giveth and he taketh away. But I'm back to regularly scheduled programming now as a wife. Not living in sin anymore. That's nice. I'm sin free now. Yeah. I actually have a video coming out about all the little witchy bits I did for my wedding. It was honestly the best day ever. Like, it was just, when people are like, oh, like, your wedding day is the best day of your life, it was just like the most incredible day. Honestly, the day my son was born was the best day of my life, but I would say wedding day is a pretty close second to that. It was just perfect. It was just lovely. The harsh reality that hits you after it though, when you kind of like go back to work and real life resumes, it's a pretty bitter pill to swallow if you ask me. Anyway, you don't care about all that, you care about Aquarius. So Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac, with Aquarius season starting on January 20th and ending on February 18th. And this sign is represented by the water bearer. So Aquarius falls in the middle of winter, making it a fixed sign. So fixed signs tend to be set in their ways, definitely more immovable than cardinal or mutable signs, and this is because they are right in the middle of a season. So they tend to have less influence from the season that just came and the season that's yet to come. They're kind of in the thick of the season that they're in, is how I tend to think of it. Aquarius rules over the 11th house in the astrological chart, which is the house associated with friendship, community and group dynamics. It also points to desires, aspirations and where we might find fulfillment, especially when it comes to society and to organisations that we are a part of. So this can be big scale groups such as the country or culture that you belong to, or communities that you become a part of, such as astrology or witchcraft communities, or even all the way down to small groups such as a book club that you meet with once a month. And I can't talk about Aquarius without, of course, talking about the humanitarian aspect to this sign. And I obviously simply must talk about Ganymede. So I've spoken about Ganymede many, many times on this podcast because this story is just one that seems to come up time and time again, and it really captures the energy of Aquarius perfectly. So in Greek mythology, Ganymede was a young boy who Zeus took a liking to. Surprise, surprise! And he decided to make him his royal cupbearer on Mount Olympus. And the words cupbearer and lover can be used interchangeably here. So Ganymede was having a great old time up there serving the gods while getting to be the not so secret side piece to the infamous king of the gods, when he noticed that down on earth the community of mortals that he once belonged to were dying of thirst, while all the gods had all the wine, water and nectar that they could ever desire, and they had more than they would ever possibly need. So Ganymede, being unable to stand this injustice, decided to pour all of the gods' beverages out from the heavens and down to the earth for the people to enjoy, even though he knew that this would probably end in punishment for himself, which it kind of did end in punishment, kind of like a punishment meets great honour kind of thing. So Zeus knew that he couldn't just let Ganymede get away with it. Like, he's like fucking king of the gods. Like, he can't just be like letting people like do shit like that. Like, come on, Ganymede, like get it together. Like, but Zeus did love Ganymede, so he wanted to find a fitting punishment that wouldn't be as horrendous as just killing him or doing something brutal, like, I don't know, like fucking letting Ego's Pecky's like live it out eternally or something like that. Like, he wanted to do something that would be like a little bit more honourable than that. So this is when Zeus decided to immortalise Ganymede in the stars as the constellation Aquarius, also known as the water bearer or the water bringer. So Aquarius is an air sign, which is often mistaken as a water sign because of the symbolism. But if you remember that air is intellect, quick thinking, while water is emotions and healing, Aquarius brings about the healing powers of water by using their intellect. Aquarius' ruling planet is Saturn in traditional astrology, and both Saturn and Uranus in modern astrology. So Saturn is the planet of discipline, restriction, rules and determination, and Uranus is the planet of innovation, change and freedom. The associated tarot card for Aquarius is the Star. This is the card of hope, faith, inspiration, authenticity and spirituality. Some keywords that you'll hear strongly associated with Aquarius are humanitarian, innovative, inspiring, intelligent, unique, quirky, idealistic, intuitive, rebellious, stubborn, unemotional, detached and unpredictable. Aquarius as your sun sign. So your sun sign is who you are at your core. It's your ego and your true identity. If someone has Aquarius as their sun sign, that means that they were born between January 20th and February 18th. As I said, Aquarius are well known for their humanitarian efforts and their innovative thinking when it comes to the groups that they are involved with or the world at large. So Aquarius are likely always involved in some cause or fighting the injustices of the world. They simply cannot see people being treated unfairly without doing something about it. And this is a real Aquarius thing. They don't typically just like sit around and like think about how things can be better. They're typically always going to want to do something about it. They are the first to boycott shitty brands and run on bad political decisions. They are probably also the workmate who reminds you every day what a fucking joke it is to be stuck in a capitalist system that forces them to work every day and how the whole structure of the entire world is bullshit. And I must say, Aquarius, I agree wholeheartedly with you on this one. They tend to have this ability to think so far outside the box where their ideas of a free and fair world sound kind of just like a pipe dream that isn't all that possible to other people who might be smaller thinkers than an Aquarius. This can be very frustrating for Aquarius people because to them, the ideas that they have are actually well thought out and possible. Others might just have a much more restricted point of view than they do. Whereas Aquarius is so far out the box that the box is literally like a dot to them. They're like, can't even fucking see the box anymore. This is where Aquarius can kind of fall into preachy territory and give off the vibe of their ideas are always right and you're just not on their level enough to be able to see it. Kind of on like the far end of the scale of this, I'm thinking of those preachers who stand in town with a megaphone and tell us how we're all going to go to hell for our sins if we don't embrace Christ right now. And listen, I don't claim to know the laws of the universe. He might well be right. Who's to say? I might be going to hell, but if I walk past him and it's 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning and I'm going to work and you're standing in the middle of Glasgow screaming at everybody who's like nursing a hangover that they all have like a dark evil within them and they're all going to burn for eternity, I can't help but think, you're a fucking weirdo. You might be right. Who's to say? I personally think you're a bit strange. And this, you know, weird strangeness is an Aquarius thing as well. Like I said, this example is on the extreme end of the scale. Most Aquarius are more subtle than that and a lot more compassionate as well and tactful. And the whole aim of Aquarius is to bring society up to a higher level. So even when somebody is a little bit preachy and overbearing, it's genuinely from a place of caring about other people and wanting a better world for everybody to live in. Famous Aquarius sons are Ed Sheeran, Jennifer Aniston, Evan Peters, Robbie Williams, Oprah Winfrey, Yoko Ono, Axl Rose, who, if I remember right, has like a lot of Aquarius in his chart, Jerry Springer, Rainn Wilson, Bob Marley, and Elizabeth Holmes. Lol. Aquarius as your moon sign. So your moon sign is your inner world and your emotions. It's also a lot more than that as well. It's subconscious, dreams, magic, creativity, all of that. But for the sake of these 101 episodes, we are just going to umbrella under inner world. If someone's moon sign is in Aquarius, that means that the moon was in the zodiac sign of Aquarius at the time that they were born, and the moon changes sign every 2.5 days. As with all air signs, Aquarius moons are likely intelligent and intellectual with a quick-paced inner world. For Aquarius in particular, this might manifest as big, expansive, innovative thoughts. They always think of the bigger picture and the consequences not only for themselves, but for everyone else involved, which, of course, is very noble, but can be very anxiety-inducing as well. And anxiety is a common thing when it comes to air signs. I kind of think of Gemini's anxiety being worrying about the opposing forces within them that's always kind of battling with each other. Libra worries about partnerships and another person and other person's opinion all the time. And Aquarius is worrying about the whole world. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, which is kind of like a strict, rigid grandfather figure, which gives Aquarius a real seriousness to them. This means that as a moon placement, they could come off as very unemotional, which doesn't mean uncaring. It just means that they likely look at things from a more thought out, logical point of view. Again, this just means what's logical to them. As innovative thinkers, people might not understand the unique and creative form of logic that Aquarius has, because they're likely very good at seeing things from perspectives that's not available to other people. So their choices will be very logical to them because they're likely looking at things from a much bigger, broader perspective. Either way, you probably won't see huge displays of emotion from an Aquarius moon. They will absolutely stand up for what they believe in, but they will come in with facts and figures rather than like crying about something or being like, oh, like trying to like appeal to your emotions. They might appeal to your emotions in a logical way though. They're just not likely to use their emotions as like a driving force, if that makes sense. And although Aquarius is very concerned with the collective, they don't typically rely too much on other people. They're actually very independent and they are quite happy to be the one leading the way, even if they are miles and miles in front of everyone else and they're kind of on their own. That's totally fine. They typically don't really give too much of a fuck about fitting in. Some famous Aquarius moons are Morgan Freeman, Zach Braff, Jason Segel, Christopher Walken, Joan Jett, Conan O'Brien, Tim McGraw, Amanda Bynes, Marilyn Monroe, Denzel Washington and James McAvoy. Aquarius as your rising sign. So if someone has an Aquarius rising sign, that means that the constellation of Aquarius was rising over the eastern horizon at the moment that they were born, and this changes every 2 hours, which is why it's really important to have the exact time of your birth when you're casting a birth chart. Your rising sign also determines the structure for the rest of your chart. So your rising sign will always rule your first house, and then in order of the signs in an anti-clockwise direction, your other house rulers will be determined. This means that if Aquarius rules your first house, Pisces will rule your second house, Aries will rule your third house, Taurus will rule your fourth house, and so on and so forth. Your rising sign also determines your chart ruler. So for Aquarius, this would be Saturn, and in modern astrology, Uranus as well. So I see your rising sign as representing many things. People will often say that it's just your physical body and your persona, but I don't necessarily think that's true. It is those things, definitely, but I think it's a little bit deeper than that. It's who you are here on this earth, having this human experience. It's kind of like who your soul chose to play this game of Sims as. So yes, on the outside it can be like your physical appearance, but it's also like there's a reason why your rising sign is your rising sign. So of course that's how you look, your personality. I also think it shows your life path and purpose as well. Lessons that you have to learn here on Earth and things that you will be drawn towards here on Earth as well. Not everyone sees the rising sign as this, and that is totally fine. It's just how I've seen it play out. In thinking about life path, it could show a glimpse into what type of career someone might be drawn to. In a proper birth chart reading, I would be looking at a few different areas to focus on career specifically, but in these 101 episodes, I like to look at the rising sign for career path, taking absolutely no mitigating factors into account, and just, it's a little bit of fun. So for Aquarius rising, of course, a career where it comes to fighting for some kind of social cause or humanitarian or environmental effort. But honestly, Aquarius could really thrive in really unique ways. Like, they'd be really good at creating a brand new job role that never once existed, or breaking barriers in existing professions. So I actually have 2 celebrity examples here, and the 2 examples really could not be more different from each other, but they both work, I promise. So first of all, we have Barack Obama, who was of course the first black president of the United States of America. What a time to be alive that was, eh? You don't know what you have until it's gone, But before he was president, he actually worked in a law firm specialising in civil rights cases. And before that, he was the leader of a church group who were trying to improve living conditions in poor neighbourhoods. Now, for me, this is like textbook Aquarius rising, different vibes of jobs and roles, but you can kind of see how they all are about humanitarianism, and they all include the collective. For my next example, I have David Bowie, who in the early 70s was a total innovator in the music scene with his unique glam rock style and his alter ego Ziggy Stardust. So Ziggy Stardust was, and I quote, an androgynous alien rock star who came to Earth before an impending apocalyptic disaster to deliver a message of hope. Like, tell me you're an Aquarius rising without telling me you're an Aquarius rising. This shit is insane. Like, astrology is real. It's facts. It fucking has to be. Like I said, rising sign can also determine our physical features. So for an Aquarius rising, this might be looking quirky or having very unique features that look a little bit alien-like, but like in a nice way. Aquarius risings tend to be attractive but unique, kind of like an ethereal space radar, if you know what I mean. They might also wear standout clothes, dye their hair, or have like tattoos, piercings, body modifications, something like that that makes them really stand out. Or even if they don't have that, they're likely going to have something quite different about them that kind of, you know, the kind of person that you walk past in the street and you're like, do a double take at them because they're just like have something kind of cool or quirky or interesting or a bit unique about them. That's an Aquarius rising. So for our famous rising examples, we of course have Barack Obama and David Bowie, Christina Aguilera, Shia LaBeouf, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Roseanne Barr, Weird Al Yankovic, Sylvia Plath, and Alan Cumming. Floop is a madman, help us, save us. And that is it for your Aquarius 101. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode and found it useful. If you have, please leave a review if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, one of those platforms. If you're over on YouTube, hey, give me a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye!